Guys, good morning. I wanted to go over something with you today. I found something a little bit concerning yesterday. We're new to our property, so we're still exploring. We bought it in the fall, so a lot of things were, dying back at that point. So now things are coming to life. We're trying to identify what is in our ecosystem and our little patch of woods in the back, and I found something that is a little bit concerning. So today we're going to have a talk about garlic mustard. It all started yesterday. I was out for my regular walk through the blueberries, walking through the property, and I noticed this shorter plant with broad green leaves that had serrated edges with cute little white flowers on the top. And I thought, oh, this is cute, so I'll take a picture of it. So I took a photo of it and I was able to check it through an app on my phone. And it told me that it was garlic mustard. So I thought, oh, okay, well, let me look into this. Lo and behold, I find out it's a real problem, you guys. It's an invasive species. Basically, it was brought here in the 1800s by people from Europe looking to bring over another food source. So I will talk about later what you can do to turn this into a food source for yourself. But first, I'm going to talk about all the reasons why I do not want this on my property anymore and how I'm going to go about getting rid of it. Why do I hate this plant so much with a deep, burning passion? Did a lot of research last night and I'm here to bring this to you. First of all, it's going to mess up your local soil ecology. So something happens in the root system of this garlic mustard plant. It releases these chemicals that interfere with mycorrhizal fungi. It's a fungus that creates a relationship with the root system in native plants in our area, and it allows them to absorb water. So it's a positive relationship. It's something that is needed in the soil. So not only does the chemical inhibit that and allow it to outcompete, but it also just changes the general soil chemistry in that area. Earthworms aren't able to thrive as well. The leaves break down from the garlic mustard in a different way than normal leaves break down. So it really interferes with the natural ecology of your wooded area, forest, wherever it is. So what does the life cycle of a garlic mustard plant look like? It grows in 2 stages. The first year, it's going to grow as a small leafy green in a circular shape. They're about kidney bean shaped leaves on the ground. It's going to overwinter, and then the following year, it's going to grow as long stalks with those dark green serrated leaves, like I had said, with the white flowers on top. Most of the time, you're going to find it in thick patches because the only way that it's going to spread is by seed. And so it's usually moved along by like deer and hikers and people. So you find it a lot around a lot of like riverbanks and trails and things like that. I found it right alongside the trail in the backyard in the hedgerow where things had been cleared a while ago, and now, the earth is replacing that with weeds. Another reason why it's a nuisance is that when dairy cows get into a patch of the garlic mustard and they eat it, it'll actually pass the flavor through onto their milk, and the milk will taste like garlic, so they have to get rid of it. So it's a nuisance to dairy farmers. It outcompetes the native plants in a very aggressive way. Like I said, with the soil, it's gonna, destroy your soil chemistry, not allow the native plants to thrive. It also is something that the wildlife doesn't like to eat, so they'll only eat it as a last resort, meaning that if they're standing in front of a patch of native plants mixed with the garlic mustard, they're going to eat all the native plants first before moving on to that garlic mustard, giving it yet another way to outcompete the native plants around it. Not only that, it's also a host to several different kinds of viruses: the cucumber mosaic virus, the cabbage black ring spot virus, and the turnip mosaic virus. So I highly recommend, if you're in an area where those viruses are a concern of yours, definitely go out and check your area, take a look around, see if you can identify these plants. They're very easily identified, especially in their second year. And just put a plan together on how we're going to go ahead and eradicate this population and allow the native plants to return to that area and the natural ecosystem to return to the way it should be. Now we're going to go ahead and talk about how we're going to get rid of these nasty plants. Here are some things that you're going to struggle with to consider when you're getting rid of these plants. So not only does it take 2 years for them to grow, So it's really hard to identify patches sometimes because one year it might not look like there's anything there, and then the following year you'll see the stalks and the flowers start to come up and you realize maybe I didn't identify that patch of the first year or the 1 year old plants that were there initially. So definitely take a look around for those. Once you realize it's an issue, take a look around for the first year plants. One thing that we have to our advantage is that the only way that this plant is going to replicate is by seed. So you can completely eliminate all the flowers, keep the plant from going to seed, and keep the seed population in the ground deteriorating over the years to try and get rid of them. I don't recommend digging them up. As soon as you break one of their roots, they have these auxiliary buds that will grow new stems out of those roots. So it's not really highly recommended to dig them out unless you're working in a very small isolated patch of it. What's recommended is you find a little patch of it, start working your way from the outside in if you are going to dig it out. But just be aware that that is not always the best option. What I'm going to do is I am going to go out there with my weed whacker and I'm going to cut all the flowers out as many times as I can this year, because 1 square meter patch of garlic mustard can produce 105,000 seeds. They are very good at reproducing. They are very good at outcompeting the plants around them. So what we need to do is we need to take aggressive action, and we need to take it now, because it's going to take about 5 years to completely get rid of this. That's because it grows in 2-year stages. The seeds take a year in the ground before they even sprout, and they can live dormant in the ground for up to 5 years. So it's a very aggressive invasive plant, but we're gonna get rid of it, and we're gonna do it the right way, and we're gonna allow the species that are naturally here to come back into that area and create that symbiotic relationship with the soil like we want. Highly recommended that after you go ahead and cut down those flowers using weed whacker, mower, whatever, you go in and you apply some heavy mulch to that area to discourage the plants from coming back. You're going to have to do this several times throughout the year, because once you cut the flowers, they are going to grow back all the way through August to try and go to seed. I know what you're thinking. Come on, Val, give me some good news. This sounds horrible. We're ruining our soil ecology. We're outcompeting the native plants. The wildlife doesn't even like to eat it. I don't like garlic tasting milk. Who does? So what can I do with this plant? I got another answer for you. So I don't really like to do anything on the farm where I feel like I'm being wasteful. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut back this garlic mustard. I'm gonna rake it. I'm gonna give it to my chickens. I'm not going to compost it. I'm gonna give it to my chickens to eat, safe for them to eat, which is excellent. And then I'm gonna mulch over heavy to encourage it to die back. But if you're somebody who likes to forage for your own food, I have really good news for you. You can actually use this plant to cook with. It's edible in several different ways. So let's go over that now. Who's hungry? Let's talk about eating invasive garlic mustard. If you're gonna try your hand at eating this invasive garlic mustard, and I totally suggest you do, because what better way to get rid of an invasive species than to consume its nutrients at the same time, or give it to your chickens. One thing that you do need to be careful about, like anything in the cabbage or broccoli family, this is a dark green that contains levels of cyanide. Cyanide, don't worry. It's in a lot of food that you eat. If you cook it or blanch it or put it in water, blanching it, it's going to get rid of those levels of cyanide. Some people suggest that you only eat it once a week, twice a week, no more than that. But just be aware that it is something that is in the foods that you probably already eat. Take precaution though, don't eat a lot of it raw. If you're eating it in a salad, I would blanch the leaves first, or really go to a site that you trust. I wouldn't recommend eating it raw, just because I don't want you guys to get sick. You can dig up the roots and prepare them as a type of horseradish, similar to horseradish. So you can preserve them in vinegar and use that as a topping on your sandwiches. Some people actually take the leaves and make pesto out of it. I found several recipes for pesto using the garlic mustard, so check that out. It does have a garlicky flavor to it, so if that's something that you're interested in. Also, I read that these seeds are great for spicy foods too. So check that out. If you're looking for some recipes, I can definitely add some into the link in the description below. But one of the best ways we can get rid of this is to also use it at the same time as a nutritional source. So get on that for sure. Just to recap, today you're going to be seeing me going out and taking my first fight against this garlic mustard. I did a lot of research last night. I thought it was something that I should let you guys know about. This is a plant that you can find almost anywhere on the northeast coast of the United States. Moved down from the northern area of the United States when it was brought over here. So take a look around, see if this is something in your area, come up with a plan of action. Eat it if you want, get some nutritional value, but just do what's going to be best for the local ecology in your area and get rid of this invasive species. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you learned something new about an invasive species that maybe affects you directly. I'm going to add in a time lapse of me cutting down some of this garlic mustard, feeding it to my chickens, and probably not mulching because I don't have mulch quite yet, but I will. Want to say that I hope you guys are doing well, and I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to me today. Take care. Hey guys, here we are outside. I'm really not far back in my property. Now that I did my research and I know what I'm looking for, it's easy to see that this is truly an invasive species. It's all over my property. So I walked probably like 30 feet into the back of my woods and I found it everywhere. So I decided to change my plan of action just a little bit, not too much. I started walking down some deer trails and I noticed, just like my research said it would, there was a lot of it spread along the trails where the deer are walking, but it's really just individualized plants in most areas. So what I've been doing is, for those individual small patches, I have been pulling them by the root as carefully as I can out and feeding that whole thing to the chickens. They are loving it. I'll show you that. For the larger areas, I am still going to take my weed whacker that's sitting on the ground behind me, and I'm going to completely cut the tops of them because it's just going to take too much time and it's going to be too much soil disturbance to try and pull each individual plant out of the large patches that I've found. So if you see me pulling some out of the roots and you're like, hey, she said not to do that, this is why I'm doing it. Thanks, guys. Here we are off trail. And I'm telling you guys, right now is the time to go out and look for these because they are everywhere, but they haven't gone to seed yet. So come on in here and start getting rid of them. They're everywhere. Taking over, invasive, negative, bad for everything. Get rid of it. Closer to the end of the day here. I didn't get as much filming done as I wanted to. I wanted to show you guys this pile that I pulled out of the garlic mustard. I'm giving this all to the chickens. I gave them a large pile earlier and they completely devoured it. But I do apologize, I didn't get as much filming as I thought I would because the area that I wanted to concentrate on, if you can see through the trees, my barn is right over here. I wanted to concentrate on this area because it's closest to my garden, and then I'll start expanding outwards. And it just so happened that in this area, there were just a lot of smaller patches that could be, hand-picked out. So I am going to do a follow-up to this in a couple weeks, see exactly what this area looks like. I cleared a lot of dead branches out, and of course the invasive plant. I cleared a lot of that out. I did a little bit over on this side of the trail as well. For some reason, it's not as prevalent over here. Not sure if it's because it's more shaded or what the reason is, but definitely had a successful day pulling these out of this area over here. It's almost completely done. So we'll see in a couple weeks, you know, how it bounces back, and keep fighting it. Thanks, guys. In the chicken pen a couple hours later, and there is absolutely nothing left of that garlic mustard. It's a hit. They love it.